Introduction. A small wooden table sits in the corner of a dim kitchen. One of its legs is shorter than the others, propped up by a folded piece of cardboard. On the table, a single candle flickers, its wick drowning in a pool of melted wax. Next to it is a stack of envelopes. Some are white, some are manila, and most have windows that show a name and address in bold, cold letters. Many of them have the word past due stamped in a shade of red that looks like a warning light. There is a notebook open on the table. It is filled with neat, hopeful handwriting. The same sentence is written over and over, 50 times. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities. Beside the notebook sits a cold cup of tea and a smartphone with a cracked screen. The silence in the room is heavy. It feels like the air is waiting for something to happen, but nothing does. The only sound is the low hum of an old refrigerator that sounds like it might give up at any moment. This is where the dream meets the floor. This is the place where someone has done everything the books said to do. They've visualized. They've said the magic words. They've tried to feel high vibes while their stomach was tied in knots. And yet, the envelopes on the table haven't changed. The bank account still shows a balance that makes their heart sink. If you have ever sat at a table like that, this is for you. You might feel like you are broken. You might think that the universe is playing a joke on you, or that there is some secret code everyone else has that you just can't crack. You see people on the internet talking about how they manifested a dream house or $1 million by just thinking about it, and you feel a mix of hope and deep stinging frustration. You want to believe them, but your own life feels like a constant uphill climb. The truth is, you aren't doing it wrong. You've just been given half of the map. Most books about the law of attraction tell you to think positive and ask the universe. They treat your mind like a wishing well, but they leave out the part that actually makes the engine run. They ignore the fact that while you are at your kitchen table saying, I am rich, there is a part of your brain, a much bigger, stronger part that is screaming, no, you aren't. Look at those bills. This conflict is why things aren't moving. You are trying to drive a car with one foot on the gas and the other foot slammed on the brake. You are pushing as hard as you can, but you're just burning rubber and making a lot of smoke. This book is the manual for that car. It's the bridge between the spiritual ideas you want to believe and the hard science of how your brain actually works. We are going to stop talking about wishing and start talking about alignment. We are going to move away from trying and move toward becoming. By the time you finish these pages, you won't be a seeker anymore. You won't be someone who is constantly looking for the next trick or the next secret. You will be a conscious architect. You will understand how to tune your internal radio dial to the frequency of what you want. You will know how to talk to the ghost in the machine, that deep part of your mind that has been holding you back. Most importantly, you will see that getting what you want isn't a matter of luck or being worthy. It is a predictable result of how you use your mind and your energy. It is as steady and reliable as the math that keeps an airplane in the sky. This isn't just a collection of theories. This approach is built on the work of people who decoded the hidden patterns of our world. We will look at the discoveries of Dr. Wilder Penfield, a man who mapped the human brain and showed us that our reality is something we can actually rewire. We will learn from the legendary Nikola Tesla, who understood that if you want to find the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And we will use the practical, no-nonsense rules of Florence Scovel Shinn, who taught people 100 years ago how to play the game of life and win. To see how this works in the real world, we need to look at Maya. Maya is 34 years old. She is a freelance graphic designer with a lot of talent and a very small bank account. She lives in a one-bedroom apartment where the heater clanks and the faucet drips. Maya is a seeker. Her bookshelf is full of books with gold-embossed covers about light and abundance. She has a vision board on her wall covered in photos of tropical beaches, a sleek white studio, and a healthy savings account. Maya is a hard worker. She stays up late finishing projects. She is kind to her clients. But she lives in a state of almost. She almost gets the big contract, but then the company decides to go in a different direction. She almost saves $1,000, but then her car's transmission fails and the money vanishes. She is perpetually one step away from the life she wants, but that one step feels like it's over a canyon. Right now, Maya is sitting at that kitchen table we described. She just spent an hour doing her abundance affirmations. She closed her eyes and tried to see herself as a success. But the moment she opened her eyes and saw the letter from her landlord, her stomach dropped. She felt a wave of heat in her chest, a mix of fear and anger. "Why isn't this working?" she whispers to the empty room. "I'm doing everything right. I'm a good person. I'm thinking the thoughts. Why does the universe hate me?" Maya doesn't realize it yet, but her problem isn't the universe. Her problem is her internal blueprint. Deep down, in the 95% of her mind that she isn't even aware of, Maya believes that struggle is a prerequisite for worthiness. She grew up watching her parents work 3 jobs and still struggle to buy groceries. She heard them say things like, "People like us don't get ahead and money doesn't grow on trees." Those sentences became part of her ghost in the machine. Now, even though she is saying, "I am wealthy" with her conscious mind, her subconscious mind is busy making sure she stays in a struggle. It's her comfort zone. It's what she knows. When a big opportunity comes, her subconscious gets scared and finds a way to blow it. When she gets a little extra money, her subconscious finds a way to spend it so she can get back to the safety of being broke. Maya is tuned to the scarcity station on her internal radio. She is trying to hear the music of abundance, but all she gets is static and bad news because she hasn't changed the dial. In the chapters ahead, we are going to follow Maya as she learns how to change that dial. We are going to watch her stop fighting the world and start changing herself. You will see her face setbacks and learn how to use them. You will see her discover what inspired action really looks like. And you will see how the world around her begins to shift, not because of a miracle, but because she changed the signal she was sending out. Her story is your story. Her frustrations are your frustrations. And her breakthrough will show you exactly how to create your own. Here is the path we are going to take together. First, we will figure out why your desires seem to be running away from you. We'll look at the effort trap, and why trying too hard is actually a way of telling the universe you don't have what you want. We'll see how Nikola Tesla used energy to change physical reality, and how you can do the same. Next, we will look at the science. You will learn about neuroplasticity, and how your brain is literally wired to keep you where you are. We'll see how Dr. Wilder Penfield discovered that we can map a new reality in our minds. You will learn how to identify your own ghost in the machine, and start the process of rewiring your internal blueprint. We will talk about the power of the spoken word and the mental diet. You'll see how Florence Scovel Shinn helped people change their lives by changing their sentences. We'll look at the myths that are likely blocking your progress, things like toxic positivity, and the obsession with knowing how your dream will come true. You will learn how to master your emotions. We'll talk about the radio dial in detail, and how to find your high-frequency anchor. We will explore why feeling is the secret, and how to move from hoping for something to knowing it is already yours. We will also cover the part most people miss, the bridge of incidents. This is the series of events, some of which might look like bad luck, that lead you to your goal. You will learn how to take inspired action, instead of just hustling yourself into exhaustion. Finally, we will look at how to stay in this new state. We'll talk about the 3 pillars of perpetual manifestation, so that this doesn't just work once, but becomes the way you live your life every single day. You don't need another book after this one, because you aren't going to be looking for answers outside of yourself anymore. You are going to have the tools to build your life from the inside out. The bills on the table are real, but they are not the end of the story. The almost successes are just signs that you are close, but need to adjust your aim. The frustration you feel is just energy that hasn't been given a direction yet. It is time to stop being a spectator in your own life. It is time to stop asking for permission to be happy, wealthy, or loved. It is time to take your seat at the controls. Let's begin. Chapter 1: Why do your desires keep running away? Tuesday morning, October 14th, started just like every other day for Maya. The radiator in her small apartment hissed and popped, a sound she usually ignored, but today it felt like it was mocking her. She sat at her kitchen table with a chipped mug of lukewarm coffee. Spread out in front of her were 3 envelopes with windows. One was a power bill, one was for her car insurance, and the third was a final notice from her internet provider. Maya closed her eyes tight. She took a deep breath, just like the books told her to do. She gripped her mug until her knuckles turned white, and whispered the words she had memorized weeks ago. I am a magnet for money. Abundance flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. I am wealthy, successful, and free. She said it 3 times. She tried to feel the truth of it. But behind her closed eyelids, she didn't see piles of gold or a growing bank balance. She saw the red ink on the bills. She felt a sharp, tight knot in the center of her chest that felt like a cold stone. Her brain whispered a different set of words that were much louder than her affirmations. You are lying to yourself. You have $22 in your checking account. This is never going to work. Maya opened her eyes and felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. She had been doing the work for months. She had vision boards tucked behind her bedroom door. She had journals filled with goals written in the present tense. She had spent money she didn't have on crystals and online courses that promised to unlock the secret to the universe. Yet here she was, still stuck in a loop of almost making it, only to have a client disappear or her car break down at the worst possible time. The harder Maya tried to manifest a better life, the further away it seemed to slip. It was like trying to catch a balloon on a windy day. Every time she reached for it, the wind of her own desperation blew it just out of reach. She was trapped in a cycle of effort that led nowhere. She was doing everything right on the outside, but on the inside she was screaming with fear. The mystery of the missing result. Most people who start exploring the law of attraction find themselves exactly where Maya was that morning. They read the books that say, like attracts like. They believe that if they just think happy thoughts, their lives will transform. But then they wait. They watch the mailbox for a check that never comes. They wait for the phone to ring with a job offer that never manifests. Eventually, they decide the whole thing is a scam or that they are somehow broken. The problem isn't that the law doesn't work. The problem is a deep misunderstanding of how we interact with the world around us. We have been taught that life is about doing and getting. We think that if we put in enough mental effort, we can force the universe to give us what we want. But the universe does not respond to effort. It does not respond to how hard you wish or how many times you say a magic phrase. The universe responds to what you are. It responds to your frequency. Imagine you are holding a radio. You want to hear your favorite jazz station. You know the music is out there, floating through the air in invisible waves. But your radio dial is currently set to a station that only plays loud rock music. You can yell at the radio all you want. You can beg it to play jazz. You can stick "I love jazz" stickers all over the speakers. But as long as that dial is turned to the rock station, you are going to hear electric guitars and drums. The music isn't the problem. The radio isn't broken. The dial is simply set to the wrong frequency. Maya was tuned to the scarcity station. Every time she looked at her bills, every time she worried about her car, and every time she felt that knot of fear in her chest, she was turning the dial further away from the abundance she wanted. Her affirmations were like jazz stickers stuck on a radio playing rock music. The ghost in the machine, that 95% of her mind that ran on autopilot, was firmly in control of the dial, and it was tuned to struggle. The man who saw the invisible. To understand why Maya's desires were running away, we have to look at someone who truly understood how the world is built. In the late 1800s, a man named Nikola Tesla arrived in New York with nothing but 4 cents in his pocket and a head full of ideas that seemed like magic to everyone else. Tesla didn't see a world of solid objects. He saw a world of energy. While other inventors were focused on gears and steam, Tesla was looking at the invisible forces that made the world go around. He was famous for his obsession with the numbers 3, 6, and 9. He wouldn't stay in a hotel room unless the number was divisible by 3. He would walk around a building 3 times before entering it. People thought he was losing his mind, but Tesla wasn't just being difficult. He believed these numbers were the key to the way energy moves. He understood that everything in the universe has a specific vibration. If you could match that vibration, you could control the energy. Tesla once said that if you want to find the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. He wasn't talking about philosophy, he was talking about physics. He proved this during his early years in New York. He built a small device that could fit in a pocket. One day, he attached it to a steel beam in a building under construction. He tuned the device until it matched the natural vibration of the beam. Within minutes, the entire building began to shake. The workers ran out in terror, thinking it was an earthquake. Tesla had used a tiny amount of energy to create a massive physical result, simply by matching the frequency of the object he wanted to move. This is the secret that Maya and most seekers are missing. You do not get what you want by hitting the world with the hammer of hard work and trying. You get what you want by matching your internal frequency to the result you desire. When you try too hard, you are actually vibrating at a frequency of not having. You are signaling to the universe that your desire is far away, and therefore the universe keeps it far away. The birth of the big mistake. The idea that our thoughts create our reality isn't new. In the mid-1800s, a group of thinkers started what became known as the New Thought movement. They were tired of being told that they were victims of fate or luck. They wanted to believe that they had power over their own lives. One of the early leaders was a man named Phineas Quimby. He noticed that when his patients changed their beliefs about their health, their bodies actually started to heal. This was a massive discovery. It suggested that the mind was more powerful than the physical world. However, as these ideas grew, a mistake began to take root. People started to believe that the conscious mind, the part of you that chooses what to eat for lunch or reads this book, was the only thing that mattered. They thought that if they just chose to think a positive thought, their life would change instantly. They forgot about the engine under the hood. Think about your brain like a giant ship. Your conscious mind is the captain standing on the bridge. The captain decides where the ship should go. He looks at the map and says, "We are going to the island of wealth." But the captain doesn't actually move the ship. The engine room deep in the belly of the ship does all the work. That engine room is your subconscious mind, the ghost in the machine. If the engine room has spent the last 30 years believing that the ship is supposed to stay in the harbor of struggle, it doesn't matter what the captain says. The workers in the engine room will keep the ship right where it is. They might even ignore the captain entirely because they think they are keeping the ship safe by staying in familiar waters. This is the effort trap. You are the captain, screaming through a megaphone at an engine room that isn't listening. The harder you scream, the more you try to manifest, the more stressed you become. That stress sends a signal to the engine room that something is wrong, which makes them grip the controls even tighter. Why chasing creates distance. Maya sat back in her chair and looked at her vision board. It was covered in pictures of high-end offices, expensive cars, and a photo of a beach in Greece. She had pinned these things there because she wanted them. She thought that by looking at them, she was attracting them. But let's look at the radio dial again. When Maya looks at the picture of the beach in Greece, what is she actually feeling? Is she feeling the warm sand between her toes and the smell of the salt air? No. She is feeling the sting of the fact that she isn't there. She is feeling the gap between her messy kitchen and that beautiful blue water. That feeling of wanting is a frequency. And the frequency of wanting is the exact opposite of the frequency of having. If you are chasing a cat, what does the cat do? It runs away. The faster you run, the faster it bolts. To the cat, your chasing is a signal of pursuit and pressure. It's only when you sit still, perhaps with a bowl of milk, and act like you don't care if the cat comes over or not, that the cat eventually wanders into your lap. Desires work the same way. When you chase them with desperate trying, you are chasing them away. You are telling the universe, I don't have this, and I am worried I never will. The universe, being a perfect mirror, simply reflects that back to you. It says, okay, you don't have this and you are worried. Maya's trying was her biggest obstacle. Her hard work was actually a form of resistance. She was using her conscious mind to try and override a subconscious program that was much more powerful. The science of the ghost. We now know why this happens, thanks to modern science that wasn't available to the early New Thought pioneers. Our brains are not just one single unit. We have different layers that developed at different times in history. The newest part of our brain is the prefrontal cortex. This is where you do your planning and your positive thinking. But the ghost in the machine, the subconscious, lives in the older parts of the brain, like the limbic system and the basal ganglia. These parts of the brain process information 500,000 times faster than the conscious mind. For every one bit of information your conscious mind processes, your subconscious processes millions. This means that while Maya is saying, I am wealthy, her subconscious is processing the temperature of the room, the way her shoes feel too tight, the memory of her mom saying, we can't afford that 20 years ago, and the spike in her heart rate when she saw the power bill. The subconscious is the one actually setting the radio dial. It doesn't care about the words you say. It only cares about the patterns it has learned. It is a pattern recognition machine. If your pattern has been struggle, the ghost in the machine will filter out any opportunities that don't fit that pattern. This is why Maya would almost get a big client, but then something would go wrong. Her subconscious was actually protecting her. To the ghost in the machine, success was unsafe because it was unknown. Struggle was safe because it was familiar. To change the result, Maya didn't need to work harder. She didn't need more affirmations. She needed to learn how to walk into the engine room and talk to the ghost in a language it understood. The first shift. Maya didn't know all of this yet, but she was about to have her first aha moment. Later that Tuesday, she was walking to the grocery store. She only had enough money for milk and a loaf of bread. She found herself doing what she always did, looking at the ground, hunched over, counting the pennies in her head. She was trying to figure out how to pay the internet bill. Her mind was racing like a hamster on a wheel. Suddenly, she remembered something she had read about Nikola Tesla. He once said that he could see his inventions in his mind with such clarity that he didn't even need to build a prototype. He could run the machine in his head for weeks, and when he finally built it, it worked exactly as he had imagined. Tesla wasn't trying to invent. He was allowing the invention to exist in his mind first. Maya stopped on the sidewalk. She took a deep breath. Instead of thinking about the $22 in her bank account, she decided to try a small experiment. She didn't try to feel rich. That felt like too big of a lie. Instead, she decided to change her radio dial to something simpler, relief. She closed her eyes for a second and imagined the feeling of the internet bill being marked as paid. She didn't worry about where the money came from. She just focused on the feeling of that little green checkmark on the screen. She imagined her shoulders dropping. She imagined taking a long, slow breath out. For about 10 seconds, the knot in her chest loosened. The ghost stopped screaming for a moment. She wasn't chasing the money, she was just feeling the end result. She opened her eyes and kept walking. She didn't find a $100 bill on the sidewalk. The bills at home didn't disappear. But something had changed. The air felt a little lighter. She wasn't hunched over anymore. For the first time in months, she wasn't trying. She was just being. The effort trap versus inspired action. A lot of people worry that if they stop trying, they will just sit on their couch and do nothing. They think that law of attraction means you just wish for things and they fall from the ceiling. This is another myth that blocks abundance. There is a huge difference between hard work and inspired action. Hard work is what Maya was doing. It's fueled by fear. It feels heavy. It's trying to force a door open that is locked from the other side. It's the hustle culture that tells you that if you aren't suffering, you aren't earning. Inspired action is what happens when you tune your radio dial to the right frequency first. When you are in alignment, you get a sudden hit of an idea. You feel an impulse to call someone, or go to a specific coffee shop, or check a website you haven't visited in months. This action feels light. It feels exciting. It's like the door is already standing open, and you are just walking through it. Tesla didn't spend his life grinding. He spent his life observing, thinking, and then acting with total precision. He wasn't fighting the universe, he was dancing with it. When you stop chasing your desires, you give them a chance to catch up to you. You stop sending out the signal of lack and start sending out the signal of readiness. Turning the dial. The reason your desires keep running away is that you have been looking for them in the wrong place. You have been looking for them in the outside world, trying to grab them with your hands. But the outside world is just a mirror of your internal frequency. If you want the mirror to show you a smiling face, you don't try to force the reflection's mouth to move. You smile first. This chapter is your invitation to stop the chase. It is your permission to stop the exhausting trying that has left you burnt out and frustrated. You are not failing because you aren't working hard enough. You are failing because you are working too hard in the wrong direction. We are going to move from being seekers to being architects. An architect doesn't hope a building appears. They create the blueprint, they understand the laws of physics, and they allow the construction to happen according to the plan. Maya's journey started with those 10 seconds of relief on the sidewalk. It was a tiny shift, but it was the first time she had actually touched the radio dial herself, instead of letting the ghost in the machine run the show. As we move forward, we are going to look at the science of how to rewire that ghost. We are going to look at how to map your brain so that it works for you instead of against you. We are going to learn the rules of the game of life, as Florence Scovel Shinn called it, so you can stop being a pawn and start being a player. But for today, your only job is to recognize the effort trap. Notice when you are chasing. Notice when your affirmations feel like lies. Notice the knot in your chest. That knot is your signal that you are on the wrong frequency. You don't need to fix the world. You don't even need to fix your bank account yet. You just need to stop the chase. Maya walked back to her apartment with her bread and milk. She saw the bills on the table, but this time she didn't sit down to yell affirmations at them. She simply put the milk in the fridge and decided to listen to a song she actually liked. She turned on a jazz station. As the music filled the room, she realized that for the first time in a long time, she wasn't waiting for her life to start. She was actually living it. The radio dial had moved just one click. And in the world of frequency, one click is all it takes to change the entire song. Chapter 2: Neuroplasticity, the Science of Conscious Change. Urgent. Patient 412 status critical. Seizures uncontrolled. Stop. Requesting immediate consultation at Montreal Neurological Institute. Stop. Dr. Wilder Penfield must attend. Stop. In the early 1930s, a telegram like this could mean the difference between a life of suffering and a fresh start. Dr. Wilder Penfield was a man who saw the human brain as the final frontier. He didn't just want to heal it. He wanted to understand how it worked. He was a pioneer who realized that the brain was not a solid, unchanging block of marble. It was more like a complex map that was constantly being redrawn. When Penfield stood in his operating room, he wasn't just performing surgery. He was an explorer. His patients were awake during these procedures. This was necessary because